I really doubt that we're going to see an inflationary cycle.
Most economic analysts believe that it will have a temporary or transitory impact.
The faster than expected increase in some of those prices is actually a good sign.
The overwhelming consensus is going to pop up a little bit and then go back down. No one's talking about this great,
This is something that will settle down.
Transitory.
And the data shows that most of the price increases we've seen were expected and are expected to be temporary. There's nobody suggesting there's unchecked inflation on the way. It's highly unlikely that's going to be long-term inflation that's going to get out of hand. I don't know anybody who's worried about inflation.
Over the last couple of months, we actually saw it trended downward.
President Biden's chief of staff, Ron Klain, enthusiastically retweeted an economist who had said in part most of the economic problems we're facing, inflation, supply chains, et cetera, are high-class problems.
What is the Granholm plan to increase oil production in America?
Oh, my God. That is hilarious.
Well, the number one thing that the president can do is help get COVID under control. That we know is the root cause of inflation.
President Biden this afternoon saying he thinks we're at the peak of the crisis right now and that lower prices are on the way.
The inflation has everything to do with the supply chain. Make no mistake, inflation is largely the fault of Putin. I'm going to do everything I can to minimize Putin's price hike here at home.
If you want to get rid of inflation, the only way to do it is to undo a lot of the Trump tax cuts.
I think ever since you've come into office, things are really looking up. You know, gas is up, rent is up, food is up, everything.
We think is probably likely headed to a recession towards the end of this year, start of 2024. We think the primary driving force of that is going to be tightening credit conditions as bank balance sheets, particularly among U.S. regionals, remain somewhat flawed and still have to be repaired in order to get bank lending going again. So we think that the drying up of credit conditions will be what will bring the U.S. to a recession at the end of this year, start of next year.
And inflation is probably going to stay pretty high. And so we've gotten good news, but it's not clear whether it's going to persist.
So in this environment, how long would you have to see a trend of less hot inflation, if not deflation, to sort of feel like, okay, we're on more solid footing here?
Yeah. So we have 2 months of good CPI numbers. I think if you get, 3 or 4, then you're starting to get to a point where you can say, okay, at a minimum, we can be very patient. Maybe we don't have to go, or we can just pause for a while and see what happens. But there's always the risk. Inflation may come down for a while and then reaccelerate, right? So you're always kind of hostage to the data.
How do you handicap recession risk, if at all?
I don't think we're going to see a recession in the near term, but I think 2024, there's a little bit more of a risk. I think we'll probably muddle through, but if we're going to get a recession, it's probably going to be next year.
That will be interesting in a political year, very much so, because it's very hard for an incumbent to run against a slowing economy.
Sure.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we're not thinking too much about that just yet, but that's going to be a big deal in 6 or 9 months.